So first of all, what's the opportunity? The opportunity comes out of amazing leadership. And we had an intersection of karma, which is the story of Syria today, which is this amazing leader under President al-Shara and the adventure that he had with his team, which you all know, coming to this moment in time of December 8th and putting a new fingerprint on a very old historic label. That was helped in June by my boss, President Trump, getting off an airplane in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and having His Highness, the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, say, I want to bring somebody over for you to meet. At about 12:45 in the morning, Ahmed al-Shara arrives to meet President Trump. They get President Erdogan on the phone, and in about 96 minutes, President Trump said, give Syria a chance. Give this young man a chance. Historic. Not based on thousands of hours of analysis, not based on thousands of hours of debate, about an instinct and moment of time of what could happen in the region. Now, I have to tell you, if anybody, and we're going to talk about all of the opportunity, and you've got the greatest leaders under one of the great leaders in Syria, here to talk to you about the next stage of opportunity. But if anybody would have said 15 months ago that Syria would be the most stable country in the Middle East region, who could have ever imagined, right? It's just absolutely unbelievable. So now when we go around and we talk and we give speeches about how horrible it was, right? This march of HTS to a new Syrian government. The poster child is Syria. Now we know our destiny, Syria's destiny, is combined in the midst of everything that's there. And I think this is the old presentation, but the bottom line is, if you think today, the reason you're here because of energy, that geopolitically what's happened is the energy industry has turned from the priority being distribution to the priority being security. And why security, especially in this region? You have waterways, which have been the primary focus of energy distribution, which now are looking for security and safety, and what else is there? And the land border of Syria, when you think of what's available from south to north and east to west, it's amazing. And as we go through, what I've aligned for you in this presentation is what fields are there. The team, the energy team, is unbelievably organized as to who are first movers, what is going to be the program, what's happening with the analysis, what's happening with the big picture of what's there. But most importantly, it's a moment in time in which Syria has the sole geographic and geopolitical ability to be a solution to the Straits of Hormuz and the Red Sea. That's an unbelievable moment. That is really an unbelievable moment. And it's fresh, it's reharnessed, and the political situation of Syria itself does not have the endemic problems of its neighbors. So one thing that the team has done, and President al-Shara has done, is to look at Iraq and say, what are the lessons learned? How do we not make the same mistakes that were made in Iraq, starting with the de-Baathification. If you remember in Iraq, the mistake that was made is coming in and throwing out all of the civil servants. Now, that in addition to the litany of mistakes that we made was one of the most harsh to recover. President al-Shara came in, kept people in place, kept a system in place, brought the best leaders from all over the world to come and reshape what he's got. And then started slowly saying, what about sanctions? How do we unwrap this onion? So today, one of the big things in looking at, and we'll talk more about it as we get to the panel, is what sanctions exist? What do you have to worry about? And Fortunately, over this last 12-month period, most of them are gone, the biggest one being the Caesar Act. So as you go through the UK, Europe, the US, the only really tangential sanction left is this, state-sponsored terrorism. And state-sponsored terrorism has a few headlines that we've got to watch as we get there. I've given you in this presentation some thoughts as to how to navigate around them, but I think this will come to a conclusion fairly soon. Accomplishments are amazing, including this reassignment of the Federal Reserve account, because for all of you, having a correspondent banking system, having a central bank, having a currency, having transparency, having legal reliability, having an arbitration clause, having a process which is definable, understandable, usable, has all happened. So if we go by, what are the opportunities? Where are they? You look at not only production, but pipelines. But when you look at pipelines, pipelines have never worked. So if you took all of the years of capability of pipelines in the Middle East region, they've only been utilized about 30% of the time. And why? Because we're constantly in war. We constantly have security interruption. We constantly have infrastructure and lack of CapEx. However, again, this karmic opportunity of saying the biggest dilemma that we found in the last few months as a result of the horrible situation we find ourselves in with Epic Fury is these two waterways, the Straits of Hormuz and the Red Sea, are a huge dilemma. We have to find a back door that provides another and alternate remedy. And you can, you can see that the domestic pipeline and the international pipeline all intersect. And out of the heinous Assad regime, there was a program that was called the Four Seas program, which was really Syria being the link to the Arabian Gulf, the Caspian Sea, the Mediterranean, and the Black Sea. So Turkey and Syria ending up being the hub of energy redistribution for everything. I gave you an approach, and I'm going to wrap up and let you talk to the real executives who are responsible for this. But what I did in this presentation, and in previous life, I ran a private equity firm. So I really looked at it and I said, from my perspective, what does it take to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in this adventure of Syria? And what are the risks and what are the benefits? And how do we hedge and harness those risks? And what happens and where do I want to do that? So within this, I gave you something that's usually never in a promo Syrian sponsorship program. What are the threat assessment of where we are? Internally is one of them, right? This group is just coming to focus. It needs to explicitly define what is the legal system, what is the oil sharing system, what are the pieces, what are the metrics of this? But on the outside, we still have enemy combatants. So what happens with Iran? What happens with Russia? What happens with its neighbors? Its 5 neighboring countries, Iraq, Turkey, all have their own issues. I think what you're going to find over the day is the opportunity is now. The team is the best on the field. You're going to see that. You're at the end of the most difficult side, which has been the geopolitical alignment. Sanctions are mostly lifted. Central bank is back in focus. Hopefully, Epic Fury will find its way to a solution at the edges. But we're not combating the kind of things that we combat elsewhere. Hezbollah in Lebanon, the militias in Iraq, Hamas in the other region, and Houthis in Yemen. So you have an alignment and a recycling which allow you to be the ingredient that's needed now, which is entrepreneurial and energy specific and academic intelligence. So I'll leave this for later. You can all ask your sponsors if you would like a copy of it. And now I will turn it over to somebody who can actually make things happen. Thanks.